Okay guys, day 3 for the assignments is about parallel and perpendicular lines. So here's just a short video with a couple examples of some kind of very close, almost identical problems to what's on the assignment, just some different numbers. So the first couple of problems that you have on this page on the document that I gave you has problems where you have two lines, A, B, and C, D. They tell you what points they go through, and you have to determine if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. If you look at this little box right here, this is some key information. We have to remember which one is which. If, whenever we do the slope formula, which is right over here, this should be ingrained into your brain. All of you are sleeping and dreaming about the slope formula right now. I hope you haven't forgotten this. Whenever you do the slope formula, if you get the same slope for each of the lines, those two lines are parallel. And that means after simplifying. Make sure you simplify. Simplifying. Make sure you do that. And then with perpendicular, that means that your slopes were opposite reciprocals. So you have flipped and switched. Just erase that with my arm. Remember, flipped and switched means like you have, okay, 1/3 and -3/1. So they have different signs and the tops and bottoms are flipped. So for the first one, we have to use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that means that for AB and for CD, I'm going to go ahead and label x1, y1, x2, y2. For my first 2 points, and then because we'll have to do the same thing for CD, I'm going to do the same thing. We've got two different sets of points, which means we'll have to do the slope formula twice. So for AB, we're going to do y2 minus y1, so that means 10 minus 1, and then 6 minus -6. But remember, minus negative changes to a plus. So when we simplify, we're going to have 9 over 12, and 9 over 12 is going to simplify to 3/4. Please make sure you always reduce when you're able to. So slope of 3 over 4 for the line AB. Now let's do CD. y2 minus y1 will be 3 minus 7, and then x2 minus x1 will be 8 minus 5. This is going to give me -4 over 3. If I look at this slope and I look at this slope, those are opposite reciprocals. The top and bottom are flipped around, and they have different signs. They are flipped and switched. So that means that for the first example, the two lines are perpendicular, and that would be your answer. If you had two slopes that were the same, you would say parallel. Or if they're two numbers that after you simplify, if they do not satisfy the conditions for either of those, then you would say that your answer is neither. For the second one, this is an example of determining parallel or perpendicular lines based off of their equation. So that means that they have to be in y equals mx plus b, because you have to be able to compare the m, because that's the slope. That's what we're talking about. So I'm going to look at the m in this equation and the m in this equation. For this one, the m is 1/2, and in this one, the m is 1/5. They are not the same. They are also not flipped and switched. So these are neither. If, for example, you had a 1/2 and a 1/2, then they would be parallel. But in this case, they are not completely identical, and identical means they have to have the same sign also. So you can have perpendicular, neither, or parallel. So hopefully that helps with that section of it. And please let me know if you have any other questions.